Hi, everybody. I had the camera on to do one of my SIBO videos, so I figured I would just pop in and do a live video here about a topic that's near and dear to my heart. Let's talk for a few minutes about, oh God, the lighting is all screwy. There we go. Let's talk about Epstein Barr virus, or EBV, aka mononucleosis, when it's a fresh, new infection. And this comes up a lot in various health communities. I think there's varying degrees. Some people don't think it's ever a problem. Some people think that everybody has a problem with it and it's like an epidemic thing. And then there's the middle ground, which is a little bit more where I'm at. So here's the deal. Epstein Barr virus, or EBV, is a herpes virus. It's just in the same family as chickenpox, as roseola, cytomegalovirus, that's a fun name, as the normal herpes that causes oral outbreaks and genital outbreaks. These are all one big happy family of viruses. And the thing about herpes viruses is that we humans have lived with them for a very, very long time. So 99% of the human population has been infected with Epstein Barr virus. There's just where the number's at. Chances are you have it, and it's in your body, and God willing, it's just laying below the surface, bubbling and not doing anything, right? So having the virus isn't really the issue. What the real issue is whether or not you and your virus have a good, healthy working relationship with each other. So is it a virus that's just kind of hanging out along for the ride, and your immune system is strong enough and robust enough that it can keep that virus at bay and keep it kind of squished down? Or has something happened and is your immune system weak or otherwise not doing its job so that virus can bloom and bubble back up and replicate and get into viral mischief again? That's where EBV becomes really a problematic issue. And that does happen. There's the medical world who think that if the PCR testing, polymerase chain reaction, if that test doesn't come back positive, you don't have virus in your blood, then it's not a relevant, pertinent thing. And that's just not true. You can have a pretty bad Epstein Barr virus infection, or another virus for that matter, and not have viral particles in your blood. That's called viremia, and that's actually fairly rare to catch. Instead, I typically run antibodies to see if that's something there. So there's numerous Epstein Barr antibodies you can run. There's CMV antibodies. And I will actually put a tab on my website with some info in the next couple of days for you to order those tests yourself if you don't have a doctor who's going to cooperate with you and help you. If you're a patient of mine, A, chances are I've already tested you for this stuff, but B, I can usually get that stuff run and I can order it through insurance more times than not. So I wouldn't sweat it if you're thinking about coming to see me. But if you're not my patient, then there are resources like Direct Labs where you can do some of this testing all on your own. But you want to see, do you have an overabundance of antibodies to this virus or to another virus? And there's IgM antibodies. Those are your acute antibodies. Again, there's some doctors who think if it's not IgM, it's not there. And that's just not true either. IgM is going to be around for the first month or two that you have infectious mononucleosis. Beyond that, it's not going to be there, so don't even look for it. It's the IgG antibodies that you want to run. And when they're particularly high, especially if they're into the couple hundreds on the antibody tests, then you know it's probably a relevant infection. Another way that you can tell if you have a chronic viral infection, well, A, is just symptoms. Fatigue and brain fog are the two biggest symptoms that I see in my chronically viral infected folk. Now, there's people who have fatigue and brain fog for other reasons, but those tend to be giveaways that I need to hunt for things like viruses. Another is practically all of my patients with lupus have at least one or two viral infections that we need to treat and get our hands on. So if you have anything viral, if you have lupus, you probably have a viral infection and you just maybe don't realize it. There's other diseases that are associated with viral infections too, but lupus is probably the biggest slam dunk, I could say, as far as autoimmune conditions and viral stuff. A lot of my Hashimoto's people have viral infections, not all of them, but most of them. A fair amount of people with scleroderma, a fair amount of people with rheumatoid have something. So it just depends on the person and condition. But anyway, brain fog, fatigue, those are the two biggest symptoms. On CBCs, on blood work that you might have gotten through your doctor to look for anemia, they almost always practically ignore the white blood cells unless they're really high or really low and they're worrying about cancer. They almost always ignore those. But if you have high lymphs on your white blood cell differential, that's part of the CBC. Lymphocytes are cells that are good at fighting off viruses. If they're high, it almost always means that you have something viral. So that could be cause for concern and cause for you to run these tests and look at it. Anyway, and then, I guess, second part to this that I wanted to cover really quickly, I almost stopped the broadcast, is that I do think Epstein Barr virus and viral infections can be tied in with everything from GI disorders to hormone issues to autoimmunity. They could really be a piece of that puzzle for darn near everything. And here's why. Viruses are smart. They get into our cells, which is creepy, but it's true. They actually invade our cells, get in, hijack our DNA, hijack our cell machinery to make more viruses and make proteins and do the things that they want to do. So when you have ultimate control over a cell and over us like that, it's pretty powerful what these viruses could do. Namely, they will shift your immune system in a direction that tends to favor allergy rather than viral killing, because that allows them to live and hang out for much longer. So it suppresses one part of your immune system and ramps up the allergy side of your immune system intentionally. It also tends to be very pro-inflammatory. So again, like when you have the flu and you have aches and pains and you've got brain fog, that's all inflammation. Viruses tend to favor inflammatory environments because it helps them replicate and it keeps you and your immune system fatigued and not doing so hot. So it makes it harder for you to fight off a viral infection. But anything that's pro-inflammatory, so darn near every autoimmune disease or every inflammatory condition could therefore be related to viruses, if you think about it, because viruses cause inflammation and they like inflammation and it keeps them going. So you get into this vicious cycle of one feeding into the other, and they're both creating inflammation that's feeding the other one and keeping it going. So all things to consider with these viruses is that not to be like in the borderline paranoid camp, but they can really be related to damn near everything. And it's easy enough to run some blood work and see if you have these, or to kind of talk to yourself and think, hey, do I have brain fog? Do I have fatigue? Do I have some of these symptoms she's talking about? But I think it's worthwhile for most people to get tested for this stuff. And, sometimes I run the tests and it comes back negative and it's not a relevant thing. And we move on and we work on something else. But a lot of the times I run the test and they're there and they're present and it's something to work on. And particularly fatigue seems to rebound decently quickly when we get these viruses under control. Your recovery, like how smooth that process will be and how quickly you'll recover, is going to be dictated by a lot of things, but namely how healthy you are otherwise. So if you have Epstein Barr virus and SIBO and migraines and like 500 conditions, then it's going to be a much harder road to recover from Epstein Barr virus. So I wouldn't expect miraculous recoveries in a couple of days. But if you have EBV and that's pretty much the only thing that you have going on, then you can expect a little bit of a quicker recovery. Additionally, the longer you've been fighting this, the harder it is going to be to recover. Your immune system gets fatigued after years and years of fighting this stuff. So if you're one of those people who thinks that you've had EBV for 10, 20, 30 years, it's going to be a journey. It's going to be a long time to really get your energy back. And I don't even know if I can say that you're going to get all of your energy back. It's just, you have to keep plugging away at it though, because time is of the essence. If the virus keeps winning in that arm wrestling match and your immune system just doesn't recover, it only goes downhill from here, folks. Like, you need to get it treated as quickly as you can so that you have a chance of recovering fully. But gosh, now I feel like the bearer of bad news and a Debbie Downer, but hopefully this was informative and you dug it. But I'm going to end the live broadcast unless, no, it doesn't look like I have any questions right now. If you have questions, though, this will be posted on YouTube. You're probably watching it just on normal YouTube right now. So feel free to ask questions down in the comments section, and I'll try to get back to them in a relatively prompt manner. Otherwise, I'll see you in my next video.